Any questions from anybody along the way, or anybody's thoughts or comments? And
Mike, do you know if there's any plans to pull any of the dams out?
I don't think any of the large dams right now that I've heard of. There was a small dam 2 years ago, Sally, at Wayne Road.
Yeah, they removed the dam on the lower end of Wayne Road. They've talked about these, and I think because of the recreational value, they don't plan to remove any of these dams. The EPA did decide to fund the dredging of Nankin Lake. So they won't be removing the dam, but they'll be dredging it out because it's all filled with sediment. So make it into a better fishery.
You mean at Joy Road in Farmington?
Yes.
Yep, Nankin Lake.
Just the other side of the road from where the center of parks is. The EPA approved it, but the county still has to apply to do it, so maybe next year or so. So it's in the works, but it'll take a while for them to do designs. They're going to be doing some things to improve habitat for fish. So should make it a much better fishery. That's the problem with impoundments. I mean, they're nice for recreation, but basically an impoundment, when the river comes into an impoundment, it slows down and sediment drops out. So they're always going to fill up with sediment. Hopefully it'll take 50 years before this fills up with sediment again.
I mean, I think all the impoundments other than, Newburgh was done, 10 years plus, or almost 20 years now, but all of them along the way are quite filled in and barely impounded.
Phoenix, Wilcox,
North Hills Mill Pond, they're all pretty shallow and barely existing compared to what they used to be that way.
Yeah, I think with Nankin they're going to put in a forebay so that some of the sediment will settle out there, and then they can continue to clean that out so it won't fill in as fast as others.
I think some of the issue too on the Middle Rouge is probably the lowest one down at Farrell Lane, being part of the historic site there, probably is would be the toughest to pull out, and unless that one was pulled out, we'd never connect any of these back.
Well, they are in the process. That's the other one that got funded, is that they're designing a fish ladder to go around the Henry Ford estate.
But I think they'd really struggle to pull that.
That's a very complicated engineering feat to be able to put in a fish ladder there. But,
that's disrupting everything.
Yep.
Yeah, but they've come up with a design. It's going to be like a chute on the other side of the river from the mansion.
I know they've been struggling for years of how to do it so that it works and doesn't destroy the historic landscape.
Yes. The Henry Ford estate, at U of M Dearborn.
Yep.
Yeah, around there. But there's all these historical considerations, including the fact that that dam has powered the Henry Ford estate, and that's part of the historical consideration, that it powers a turbine there. And they want it to be able to continue to do that, but also provide enough water for the fish. And the fish passageway actually may then take more water than the dam at some points in time. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah. So we'll talk more about Newburgh Lake. I think we will get into that open area to talk about the Newburgh Lake cleanup. But just kind of completing on the park history, that Wayne County, we built a lot of things based on the park systems, the big park systems from out east in New York, Westchester, and the Bronx Parkway and stuff. But Wayne County ourselves had some people who were really on the forefront of things. And if you go north of here along Hines Drive into the Northville area, we have the Bennett Arboretum. And Jesse Merle Bennett was one of the earliest foresters and park employees. And he made it his mission to repopulate that whole area, because a lot of it was cleared from the farmers, with a unique variety of trees and other plants. So he would go out and I guess hand plant a lot of the things, and that's why that area of the Arboretum is named after him. But he was also a forefronter with the Road Commission, because the Road Commission kind of controlled the park system at first. And Jesse actually wrote several books on how to maintain and vegetate and display our highways. So one of the books he wrote was roadsides, like the front yards of American highways. and it was kind of like the forerunner back in the 20s about how, you know, our road systems didn't have to be totally barren and ugly. Obviously, a lot of his work didn't carry through into today, but at the time, he was, you know, was considered like the forerunner of how we were supposed to make them, like our living rooms and our front yards, with, you know, proper tree plantings and tree maintenance, and how to have canopies and grass and other, you know, plantings there. So I mean, he actually wrote several books that were considered like textbooks for their day. And so, Bennett Arboretum, I know the park system's made an effort in the last 3-4 years to continue replanting and repopulating out of that area, because it's been, you know, 70, 80 years since some of these first planted, so a lot of the trees were lost. But they're bringing quite a bit of them back. Through 1998, the lake underwent an entire restoration where the lake was drained back down to the original riverbed. Repairs were made to the dam, and most of the sediments were taken out of the impoundment. So the fish stock was killed off before they did it. They drained the lake, and about, what do we got here? Over 550,000 tons of sediment were removed, and a lot of that had PCB contamination in it. There had been a factory fire in Livonia that had caused a lot of contamination of the river. When they had the fire and they put out the fire, that water runoff came and drained a lot of contamination. But there was also just all the normal contamination from suburban and urban life from all the storm sewers. So I think everybody's been kind of tracking the outfalls that we've seen along here. If you want to see, there's a massive one just around. We can't see it from right here, but there's a larger one probably on the lakes here. But, so there was a big effort over those 2 years to totally clean out the lake. And then they restored more natural contours to the bottom of the lake, moving it into depths that can sustain a healthy ecosystem in it. So